Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here and the opportunity also to share more about Afrotourism in Brazil and my personal experience as well, because when we talk about my personal history, actually, I grew up in the city of Rio de Janeiro, and I was all the time the only black child in the classroom. And I didn't understand why, but I knew that something was wrong. So Brazil actually is the largest African diaspora descendants population outside Africa. But Brazil was also, the history of Brazil was written by the colonizers that uncovered the influence of indigenous and African heritage that shaped our nation. So in 2004, actually, I was in college and I went to the Social Forum in Porto Alegre, and I met one Quilombola person from the Kalunga community. So at the same place that we are, at the region that we are right now. And in that moment, I didn't know that the Quilombos communities, they still exist in Brazil. When I came back home to Rio, a friend of mine actually invited me to visit the Quilombo São José, located in Valença, the countryside of Rio. And at the first time, they were organizing the Jongo Festival. So the Jongo also for me was a big surprise because I never heard about the Jongo. Jongo is an Afro-Brazilian dance and rhythm that has a lot of Bantu influence. And the Jongo is actually considered the father of the samba and was also almost erased in the country because of the racism and the erasure of the history too. So when I met this Quilombo community, I felt really connected to the ancestral festival because they were also organizing Preto Velho's celebration. And for me, it was a mark in my life. So the connection that I have with the history of the community and something that I never learned in school changed the way that I was looking at my country as the Brazil that we didn't learn in the history books. So in 2010, I started to research about the Quilombo community located in Paraty, Campinho da Independência, and started to research about the influence of the community-based tourism in the community identity. So I started to identify also that if I started to bring students to visit the community to learn about the history by themselves, could be a way that people could learn about the Afro-Brazilian history and the community's history itself. So in 2013, actually, I started Conectando Territórios, a community-based travel agency that connects people to Afro-Brazilian culture, especially in the city of Rio de Janeiro. So I started to bring in students and then tourists, international tourists, to visit the local communities and also Little Africa region located in the city of Rio de Janeiro. But another thing that I realized that was missing around Brazil history, that we never learned how Afro-Brazilians and indigenous narratives in the school, I was actually searching for many years also about my ancestry roots. Because I didn't have the opportunity to discover the documentations, I decided to take a DNA test in 2017. And I founded some African roots, especially in Nigeria, that I also asked my brother and my mom to take the same, and we have Nigeria in common. And because of the Yoruba culture, they're really strong in Brazil, we decided to travel together to Nigeria. And when we get there, actually, I felt at home because when I was a child, all the time people were asking me where you came from. And I didn't really know how to answer. And in Nigeria, actually, we visit the sacred place of the Oshun River. We also visit the Aguda community. So during the slavery in Brazil, we have a lot of revolts, and especially in the 19th century, the Portuguese, they took it out many Brazilians back to Africa, to countries like Togo, Nigeria, Benin, Ghana, and they developed the Aguda communities, the Brazilian communities, so they maintain the Brazilian culture. Some of celebrations that we have here, like Bumba Meu Boi, the carnival, like the religion, the culinary also is still there. And I really wanted to visit this community in Nigeria. So when we get there, some of the leaders of the community, they started to talk about how the same family name that I had, Pinheiro, the Pinheiro family, they were there as well. So some of them, they still have the Portuguese names, but they are also Brazilians. So I learned that the Pinheiros, they are tall as the pine itself. They are also our child of Ogum, that is the Oshun, Orisha in Brazil, related to the justice and iron. And this is the Aguda community. And 2 days before we land, actually we met the Pinheiro family. So this is my mom, and the meeting that we have actually with the Baba and the other community, the family actually that became our extension community family. So, but coming back to Brazil, I started to realize how deep African heritage is really connected to our culture, to our traditions in general. And the Quilombos community, they maintain and they preserve actually the majority of this knowledge that came from Africa's. So in Brazil, actually, we have more than 8,000 Quilombos communities in the whole country, and that still maintain their own traditional and cultural preservations. In the state that we are, Goiás, so we have the largest Quilombo community, that is the Kalunga, that is the majority of the, half of the percent of the territory is related to those communities that cover 3 different municipalities, that is Cavalcante, Teresina de Goiás, and Monte Alegre. And for many years, actually, they became, they organized the community-based tourism itself, and they maintain the environmental and preserve the land that they are for all those centuries, because the Kalunga community is one of the oldest one in Brazil. And when we talk about Afrotourism, so what is Afrotourism actually? So in many countries, I'm talking about Brazil that erased the country, but actually the erase of the African heritage and diaspora around the globe, it's really huge. That's why we didn't know how in Latin America we have Afro communities. So people are discovering right now, like the influence of Africans in those countries. And for many years, all these national identities was completely erased in all the globe. So in Brazil, actually, Afrotourism emerged through black entrepreneurs and tour guides, actually, that it started to highlight the contributions of Afro descendants and African heritage and the contributions of Afro-Brazilians in the history of the country. So most of the experiences happening in urban communities, rural areas as well, so Quilombos communities, but also are spread in the whole country. So it's a huge, diverse, and growing market for cultural tourism, and also it's a strong potential for Afro-Brazilian economy as well. So Afrotourism is also engaging the tourists through itineraries and experiences that showcase the culture of Africa diaspora in many ways in all the cities as well. And it's included visits through candomblé terreiros. It's also included from Quilombolas communities, culinaries, festivals, local gastronomies, but also the history of Afro-Brazilians in all those cities in Brazil. So we have some examples in Rio de Janeiro, for example, related to the Samba Museum. So the Samba workshop, actually, that's also bringing not only the history of Samba, but people that make the Samba alive. So Little Africa region in Rio de Janeiro became the most visitor destination in 2024. So I brought this data that shows in 2016, actually, when I started to offering this tour, we have 1,000 people, more or less. And in 2025, we have 24,000. So we can see how the numbers increase, actually, for less than 10 years. And it's increasing year by year because actually after pandemic, many people actually started to looking for different types of authenticities, looking for different types of histories. And actually, Afrotourism is rewriting the history of African in the whole world and the importance of African descendants population in other countries. So São Paulo, it's also one of the biggest walking tour that we have in Brazil as well. So if you have the opportunity also to know more about the Afro-Brazilian history in São Paulo and other cities as Rio de Janeiro. And in 2023, actually, Afrotourism became also a mark in the Ministry of Tourism, became a way that they became part of the public policy. So UNESCO also sponsored different types of researches that also I did. I was a consultant from UNESCO, and we developed different types of documentations to understand how the Afrotourism in Brazil is growing, how the ecosystem is developed, and how many experiences we have to promote in the whole country. So this is the Afrotourism guide that showcase more than 43 experiences in the whole Brazil. And so yesterday I had the chance to visit one that is in the map, that it was the Quilombo Moinho, that is really close to here as well. And also Afrotourism is playing a really important role when we think about empower Black communities, but also break stereotypes about places and people. because I live in the city that has a lot of stereotypes. When people talk about Rio de Janeiro, for example, it's everyone think that is a dangerous place until they get there. So breaking stereotypes around tourism is a way that we can showcase different ways to discover the city, to discover communities, and also break stereotypes and educate people from transformative experiences. So, for example, this community in Bahia, Quilombo do Caonde, they organize actually then they experience. They also have a lot of religion practices and medicine, and also the samba de roda. There is another varieties of samba that we have in Brazil that are completely different from the same samba that the samba that we have in Rio. So different types of gastronomies related to gastronomy festivals in the Quilombo communities, candomblé festivals, Festa de Iemanjá that is in all Brazil. And when we talk about Afrotourism in Latin America also, we have Colombia that has Santo Antônio de Palenque. Palenque that was the first free state in the Latin America. And we have also the festival of Petrônio Álvares, that is one of the biggest salsa festival in the whole country. So they promote this festival every year, and it's growing actually worldwide. So when we talk also about who is experiencing Afrotourism, so when we think also about the African diaspora population, we have more than 200 million people. And most of them, they are looking for to connect to their ancestral history, but also Brazilians, they can also discover their own heritage, also doing this type of experiences. So outside Brazil, we have also in Africa in 2019, Ghana actually started the return year, invited people from the all Africa diaspora to come back to the homeland, and also they developed different types of not only monuments, but also they opened different sites, archaeological sites, experiences, and invited people for worldwide. And actually, this type of initiative generated more than $1.9 billion revenue, welcoming more than 1 million people across the globe, reflecting in the Caribbean and the Latin America as well. So we have United States also that is promoting in New York the Black roots, and countries like Senegal, Nigeria, South Africa, and Benin also, they are developing every year, each by year. So this year, actually, in Rio de Janeiro, we are going to hold the first Black Summit travel. And so will be actually next month. That is the Black History Month in Rio de Janeiro. And will be like a big opportunity for people actually know more about how they are marketing, not only Brazil, but worldwide. So Embratu actually is promoting Afrotourism outside Brazil. And so the Black Travel Summit will be one of the biggest opportunity also to spread Afrotourism. So when we think about how Afrotourism actually can bring in different types of sustainability, we are talking actually about how local communities actually that has a lot of ancestral knowledge that have the medicine, the spirituality, the culture, the history that was hidden for many centuries. They can bring back this ecosystem and make this more sustainable for the planet. So this is my QR code, actually. So if you want to know more about Conectando Territórios, this is my QR code. And yes, thank you.